so what we're going to talk about now are tables and graphs. And the main thing with tables and graphs is just don't hurry. Take a look at it. Read all the sides of it. Figure out what's in that table or graph, what the scale is. And also, one thing I really talk about with my pre-algebra kids is when you're looking at a table and graph, make sure they are reporting their data in an honest way. That there's, and I'll show you an example of what I would talk about with pre-algebra. Say you have a graph, a bar graph. Bar graphs are also called histograms. Okay, so here are my bars on my bar graph. I'll try to color them so you can see what's the bars and what's the lines in between, since I did such a great job with them. Here you go. Now we got our bars a little bit easier to see. Alright, so say this is the real results. But instead, they publish as their graph that. And where they're just showing the very ends of it. It makes it look like there's way more difference than there really was. It's a dishonest graph. Another thing they'll do is they'll have a break in the scale where they're not really, where it's distorting the graph, where it's not honestly reporting the data. Now, a few things about graphs. We're going to be making lots of graphs this year, and we're going to talk about the coordinate plane and things like that, but we'll do it later. But this is the y-axis, and this is the x, and later we'll talk about the rest of it if there's negative numbers. But so if something is graphed, you have the relationship between the two. For example, we could have, what are the people? The consumption of dairy versus the year. Usually time goes across the bottom here. And there's a graph where it looks like that it's really gone up. But it was a bar graph, but it sort of does this. So, you know, you just want to look carefully at what the scale is. You want to make sure there's no breaks. And I think when students do bad with graphs, usually it's because they're hurrying. They're not really taking in the whole thing, reading all the details. So this week, one of the things you'll be doing is looking at graphs and reading them. But also, in this class, we're going to be doing a lot of making graphs. So just to let you know, it's part of the class. I'm going to have y'all look at your book and look at the examples. I'm not going to try to redraw the examples in the book. They're too detailed. But I want you to take a look, to go through section 1.6, take a look at those graphs, take a look at the examples, make sure that you can find for yourself the information that they say is on that graph. Because that's really what you do with graphs, is you've got to be able to not watch me point out the information. You need to be able to study it and find those clues and find the information yourself. Alright, so that's all for graphs that I'm going to say, because you're going to spend the time, instead of hearing me talking about it, you're going to spend the time looking at some graphs in your book. Alright? Math is fun.